I'm not staying in a marriage with a predator, my wife said, then handed me divorce papers and a restraining order, all based on her sister's lies. I stood there frozen. My wife Andrea and I have been married for 3 years, together for 6. We bought our house 2 years ago and honestly, life has been pretty good. Until her sister Stacy moved in temporarily 8 months ago. Stacy is 23 and has always been the family baby. She was sickly as a kid, multiple hospitalizations, almost died from pneumonia when she was 7, chronic health issues. Her whole family treats her like she's made of glass. Stacy moved in because she needed time to figure things out after dropping out of college. At first, I didn't mind. Family helps family, right? But 8 months later, she shows no signs of leaving. No job applications, no apartment hunting, no timeline. But here's what's been eating at me. Stacy has made our house HER house. She's redecorated the guest room completely. She has friends over constantly. She eats our food, uses our Netflix, treats me like the unwelcome guest in my own home. When I work from home, she's loud on the phone in the next room. When I ask for quiet, Andrea tells me to be more understanding of what Stacy's going through. I've tried talking to Andrea about setting a timeline for Stacy to move out. Every conversation ends with me being made to feel like an asshole for not being supportive enough. She's still recovering from her last episode. She needs stability right now. We have the space. But last week, I noticed Stacy doing this weird thing where she'd get really quiet when I walked into a room, then immediately perk up when Andrea appeared. She started making these little comments like, "Oh, Matthew's home," in this tone I couldn't quite place. When Andrea would leave for work, Stacy would suddenly find reasons to be wherever I was. Kitchen when I'm making coffee, living room when I'm watching TV. Nothing obvious enough to call out, but enough to make me uncomfortable. So last Sunday, we're having dinner with Andrea's parents and her other sister Claire. Normal family dinner, nothing unusual. We're talking about Stacy maybe taking some online classes, and I mentioned that it might be good timing for her to look into getting her own place too. That's when Stacy just exploded. She starts crying and says she has something she needs to confess. According to her, I've been pursuing her for months. I've been making inappropriate comments, trying to catch her alone, making her feel uncomfortable. She said she's been trying to protect Andrea from the truth, but she can't live with the guilt anymore. I'm sitting there with my mouth open like a fish. I have never, and I mean never, done anything even remotely like what she described. I tried to interrupt to ask what the hell she was talking about, but her parents immediately jumped to her defense. She had details, specific dates, times, quotes. According to her, I told her she was more attractive than Andrea 2 weeks ago in the kitchen. I allegedly cornered her in the laundry room and told her I'd been thinking about her. I supposedly texted her inappropriate messages that she couldn't show because she deleted them out of shame. The whole table turned on me instantly. Andrea's dad called me a predator. Her mom started crying about how they trusted me with their baby girl. Claire called me disgusting. And Andrea just sat there staring at me like she'd never seen me before. I tried to defend myself, but every word out of my mouth just made me look more guilty. Andrea hasn't spoken to me since. She told me to pack a bag and stay at my parents' house until we figure this out. I've been here for a week now, and every text I send gets ignored. When I called, she said she needed time to process this betrayal. I don't know what to do. My wife of 3 years believes I tried to cheat on her with her mentally unstable sister. Our friends are asking questions. I'm pretty sure her family has already started spreading this story. How do you prove something didn't happen? Edit. Some of you are asking about security cameras. We have a Ring doorbell but nothing inside the house. Kicking myself for that now. Update 1. Posted 2 weeks ago, so much has happened since my last post. The confrontation was just the beginning. The day after that dinner, Andrea came to my parents' house. I thought maybe she'd had time to think, maybe she wanted to hear my side. Instead, she handed me divorce papers and a restraining order petition. I'm not staying in a marriage with a predator, especially one who targeted my own sister. Yes, you heard it right, that's what my wife said right to my face. According to the paperwork, I had been systematically stalking and harassing Stacy for months. The petition included a detailed timeline of alleged incidents, complete with specific dates and locations. It painted a picture of me as this predatory monster who was making Stacy's life hell while manipulating my wife. But here's the thing that made my blood run cold. Some of the incidents she described happened on days when I wasn't even home. I checked my work calendar, my credit card statements, everything. When I pointed this out to Andrea, she just stared at me for a long moment. Then she said, "Maybe Stacy got the dates confused. Trauma affects memory." That's when it hit me. This isn't about evidence. This isn't about truth. This is about Andrea choosing to believe her sister over her husband. Facts be damned. After Andrea left, I immediately called a lawyer. His name is David, and he's seen cases like this before. First thing he told me, document everything. Every text, every call, every interaction. These accusations can destroy your life even if they're false. He also told me something that changed my perspective entirely. In situations like this, the accuser often shows a pattern of manipulation in other areas of their life. Start looking at the bigger picture. So I did. I started thinking about Stacy's history, really thinking about it for the first time. She's 23 and has never held a job for more than 2 months. Every time she quits or gets fired, there's a story. Sexual harassment from a manager, 3 different jobs. Bullying from coworkers, 2 jobs. Discriminatory treatment because of her health conditions, 4 jobs. Somehow, she's always the victim and someone else is always the predator. She's dropped out of college 3 times. Each time it was because of some traumatic incident, a professor who targeted her, a roommate who made her feel unsafe, a dean who didn't understand her disabilities. Her parents have paid over $80,000 in tuition for degrees she'll never finish. She's burned through friend groups the same way. In the 8 months she's lived with us, I've watched her cycle through at least 4 different social circles. Each group starts as her best friends ever and ends with drama about how they betrayed her or didn't support her when she needed them most. It's textbook, and I fell for it completely. The family dinner where she confessed wasn't spontaneous. She'd been setting the stage for weeks, making me look suspicious by being quiet around me, making little comments to Andrea about feeling uncomfortable but not wanting to cause problems, getting me to push for her to move out so it would look like I was trying to get rid of the evidence. My lawyer and I have been building a case not just for the divorce but for defamation, because this isn't just about my marriage anymore. Word has gotten around our friend group, our neighborhood, my workplace. I've had to have awkward conversations with my boss about why I'm suddenly dealing with personal legal issues. Some of Andrea's friends have blocked me on social media. My reputation is being destroyed. But here's what really gets me. Andrea knows her sister's history. She's bylaid Stacy out of every single crisis I just described. She's made excuses for her, covered for her, enabled her for years. But when it comes to choosing between her sister's word and her husband's character, she chose her sister without hesitation. That tells me everything I need to know about my marriage. I've tried calling Andrea twice. Both times, she let it go to voicemail. I've sent 3 texts asking if we can talk like adults. Radio silence. But according to my friend Josh, she's been posting cryptic shit on Facebook about discovering who people really are and supporting survivors. Survivors. Of what? My imaginary harassment campaign. Meanwhile, Stacy has apparently moved into our master bedroom. Yeah, you read that right. She's posting Instagram stories from what is clearly my bedroom. Pictures of her cozy new space and gratitude posts about family who believe you when you speak your truth. She's not just living in my house anymore. She's taking over my life. But I'm done being the victim here. David has a plan, and it's not just about defending myself. We're going on the offense. See, here's what Stacy didn't count on. I actually know her patterns now, and patterns can be proven. We're subpoenaing her employment records, her academic records, her social media history. We're interviewing her former friends, former roommates, former coworkers. We're building a profile of someone who has made a career out of false accusations and playing the victim. And here's the beautiful part. Her story about me has inconsistencies. Remember how I said some of the incidents happened when I wasn't even home? Yes, that. My phone records, credit card statements, work calendar, and GPS data tell a very different story than Stacy's timeline. On paper, I can prove that her version of events is physically impossible. But the real breakthrough came 3 days ago. Remember Claire, Andrea's other sister? She reached out to me. Apparently, she's been having her own doubts. Not about me necessarily, but about Stacy. Claire told me something that made my blood boil. Stacy has been making similar accusations about Claire's husband for months. Nothing as serious as what she's accused me of, but a pattern of making him uncomfortable, then playing victim when he tries to set boundaries. Claire said she didn't think much of it at first, but after seeing what happened to me, she started connecting dots. I thought he was being paranoid, Claire told me. But now I'm wondering if she's been testing the waters, seeing how far she could push before making bigger accusations. Claire is scared to speak up because she knows the family will turn on her the same way they turned on me, but she agreed to talk to my lawyer if it comes to that. I'm not the first. I probably won't be the last. This is who Stacy is. The worst part, I think part of Andrea knows this too. But she's so invested in protecting her fragile sister that she's willing to sacrifice our marriage to maintain the illusion. I'm done fighting for someone who won't fight for me. The divorce papers are signed on my end. Let's see how much that house and that lifestyle mean to them when they're paying for it themselves. Edit. Claire reached out after seeing this post. She wants to make it clear she never accused her husband of anything inappropriate. She was describing how Stacy behaves around him. I've edited to make that clearer. A lot of people are asking about the restraining order. My lawyer got it dismissed due to lack of evidence and the timeline inconsistencies. Stacy was not happy about that. Update 2, posted 1 week ago. This week has been absolutely insane, but I finally feel like I'm winning this war. 3 days after my last post, my lawyer and I discovered something that could guarantee me most of our assets. And once Andrea's family found out, they decided to stage an intervention. It was Andrea, her parents, Claire and her husband, and of course, Stacy. They showed up unannounced at my parents' house. My dad answered the door and immediately told them to leave, but I said I'd hear them out. Biggest mistake I've made in this whole situation. Andrea's mom started crying the moment she saw me. She gave this whole speech about how I needed to take responsibility for my actions and get help for my problem. Her dad was more direct. Called me a predator again, told me I was sick for going after someone vulnerable like Stacy. Said the only reason they weren't pressing criminal charges was because Stacy was too traumatized to go through a trial. Claire was quiet mostly, and Andrea, she looked exhausted like she hadn't been sleeping. She kept talking about our marriage vows and how I'd thrown away everything we built together. But Stacy was the star of the show. She sat there crying silently, occasionally dabbing her eyes with tissues. Every time someone supported her, she'd give them this grateful, fragile look. She kept talking about how scared she was of me, how she felt safe for the first time in months, now that I was out of the house. It was honestly a masterclass in manipulation. That's when I decided to stop playing defense and go on the attack. I pulled out my laptop and started showing them the evidence my lawyer and I had compiled. Phone records proving I was out of town during 3 of the alleged incidents. Credit card statements showing I was at work during 2 others. GPS data from my car that contradicted her timeline. Explain this, I said, pointing to the screen. March 15th, Stacy claims I cornered her in our kitchen at 7 p.m. Here's my hotel receipt from Cleveland. Here's my boarding pass. Here's my rental car GPS showing I was 300 miles away. The room went quiet. You could literally hear the clock ticking. Andrea stared at the screen for a long moment, then looked at Stacy. Stacy, honey, maybe you got the dates mixed up. And that's when Stacy made her first mistake. Instead of acting confused or apologetic, she got defensive. Dates don't matter. The intent was the same. He was always looking for opportunities. But these aren't mixed up dates, I said calmly. These are fabricated incidents. You made up specific conversations that couldn't have happened because I wasn't there. Her dad jumped in to defend her. She's been through trauma. Memory issues are normal. Then explain this, I said, pulling up the next piece of evidence. I showed them Stacy's employment history. 7 jobs in 5 years, all ending with harassment or discrimination claims. 3 schools, 4 separate complaints against professors or administrators for inappropriate behavior. Notice a pattern, I asked. In 5 years, Stacy has accused 14 different men of harassment, discrimination, or inappropriate behavior. What are the odds that every single workplace, every single school, every single social group has a predator who specifically targets her? The room was getting uncomfortable. Claire's husband was shifting in his seat. Andrea's parents were exchanging looks, but the nuclear bomb came when I pulled up the financial records my lawyer had subpoenaed. "Did you know," I said, looking directly at Andrea, "that your sister has been stealing from us for 8 months?" I showed them the bank statements. Over $12,000 in unauthorized charges on our joint credit card. DoorDash orders every single day, sometimes multiple times per day, shopping sprees at expensive stores, Uber rides to places I'd never heard of. Andrea went white as a sheet. That can't be right." I handed her the statements. "Look at the dates, Andrea. Look at the amounts. Your sister has been committing credit card fraud for months, and when I started asking questions about money, suddenly I became a sexual predator." Stacy was full on panicking now. "Those charges aren't mine. Someone must have stolen the card. This is just another attempt to make me look bad." "Really?" I said, "because I have the delivery addresses. They're all to our house. I have the Uber pickup locations. They're all from our house. I have security footage from the stores where the card was used." I didn't actually have store footage, but she didn't know that. "This is ridiculous." Stacy stood up, tears streaming down her face. "You're trying to destroy me because I told the truth about you. This is exactly what abusers do. They turn everything around on their victims." But the room had shifted. Claire was staring at her sister with this look of dawning realization. Even Andrea's parents were looking uncertain. Andrea was still staring at the bank statements. "Stacy, these charges. Some of these are for hundreds of dollars. Did you use our card?" "It was an emergency," Stacy said. "I was going to pay it back. I've been in crisis mode." "For 8 months, I asked. "To the tune of $12,000. That's when Claire spoke up for the first time. "Stacy, remember when you told me that Matthew made you uncomfortable last month? You said he was always trying to get you alone." "Yes," Stacy said eagerly, thinking Claire was supporting her. "That was the same week you asked me for money," Claire continued. "You said you were broke and scared and needed help. I gave you $500. Claire looked around the room. "She's been asking all of us for money for months. From me, from our parents. Always with some crisis, always with some emergency." She then turned to Stacy. "If you were stealing from Matthew and Andrea this whole time, why did you need money from us?" The room was silent except for Stacy's crying, which was getting louder and more dramatic by the minute. That's when my phone buzzed with a text from David. Perfect timing. "Actually," I said, "there's more. My lawyer just sent me this." I showed them the report he'd compiled from interviewing Stacy's former coworkers and roommates. 3 different people had told him that Stacy had made false accusations before. A former roommate said Stacy had accused her boyfriend of hitting on her, then admitted months later that she made it up because she wanted the boyfriend to break up with the roommate so she could have the apartment to herself. A former coworker said Stacy had filed a harassment complaint against their manager, then bragged to another employee that she was hoping to get him fired so she could get his position. I watched Stacy's face as I read these accounts out loud. She went from crying to scared to angry again. Stacy lost her shit completely at that point. Started screaming about how everyone was abandoning her, how nobody cared about her trauma, how I was a master manipulator who had turned her whole family against her. But nobody was buying it anymore. The family left shortly after, with Stacy still screaming about betrayal and abandonment. Andrea stayed behind and asked if we could talk privately. We talked for 3 hours. She apologized over and over, begged me to consider working on our marriage. But the damage is already done. She never even asked for my side of the story. She just immediately assumed I was guilty and started planning her exit strategy. That tells me everything I need to know about how she really sees me and how little our marriage actually meant to her. I told her I appreciated the apology, but I was moving forward with the divorce. We can be civil about it, especially now that she knows the truth, but I can't trust her anymore. And without trust, there's no marriage. She cried, but she didn't fight me on it. I think deep down, she knows this is over. The financial stuff is going to be interesting, though. My lawyer says the credit card fraud and the false accusations give me grounds to claim most of our assets. Turns out that when your spouse's family member commits financial crimes against your marriage, it affects asset division. Stacy is apparently staying with some friend now, but according to Claire, she's already wearing out her welcome. Shocking, I know. Final update. Posted 3 days ago. Well, Reddit. While this legal saga still has a few months to run, the important battles are already won. The divorce proceedings are moving forward smoothly. We've reached a comprehensive settlement that gives me 75% of our assets, including the house. While the final decree won't be official for another 8 to 10 weeks, Andrea and I have signed binding separation agreements that give me immediate possession of the house and financial accounts. Andrea finally moved out last week. More importantly, the criminal case against Stacy is proceeding exactly as my lawyer predicted. The restraining order petition was dismissed. The criminal charges for credit card fraud are moving forward. The prosecutor told my lawyer that with $12,000 in documented theft, this is a slam-dunk felony case. Stacy's court-appointed attorney has already approached us about a plea deal, but she's refusing to take it herself even when facing 2 to 3 years in prison. But here's the beautiful part. Even if she takes a plea deal now, she'll have a felony record. Good luck getting jobs or apartments with a conviction for financial fraud. My reputation, meanwhile, is fully restored. Yesterday, I got a call from my company's HR director. Apparently, word about Stacy's criminal charges and the evidence in my favor had reached my workplace. My boss wanted to make sure I knew that everyone was fully supportive and that my reputation was completely intact. 3 of Andrea's friends who had blocked me on social media reached out to apologize. 2 neighbors who had been treating me coldly stopped by to say they were sorry for believing the rumors. But the real story is what happened to Stacy after my last update. Remember how I mentioned she was staying with a friend? Well, that lasted exactly 1 week. According to Claire, who's become my main source of intel on this shit show, Stacy tried to pull the same victim routine with her friend's boyfriend. But the friend, who had been following the drama with our family, told Stacy she was full of shit and kicked her out. So Stacy went back to her parents' house. And this is where things got really interesting. Her parents, who had been enabling her behavior for years, apparently decided they were done. Her dad sat her down and gave her an ultimatum: get a job within 2 weeks and start paying rent or find somewhere else to live. Stacy's response: she accused her own father of making inappropriate comments about her appearance. This was apparently the final straw. Her mom told Stacy that she was sick, that she needed professional help, and that she couldn't keep living in their house if she was going to make accusations against family members. Her family has completely cut her off. She's staying with some online friend now, but that probably won't last long either. Andrea and me had one final conversation before she moved out. She asked me again if there was any chance of reconciliation, and I told her no. She said she understood, but she wanted me to know that she'd learned a lot about herself through this process. She admitted that she'd always known, deep down, that Stacy had problems. But she felt guilty about her sister's childhood health issues and had convinced herself that protecting Stacy was her responsibility. She said she realized she'd been enabling destructive behavior for years, not just with me, but in all of Stacy's relationships. As for the rest of Andrea's family, it's been mixed. Her parents sent me a letter apologizing for how they treated me during the intervention. They said they were embarrassed about their behavior and hoped I could forgive them someday. I appreciated the gesture, even though I don't think I would ever want to talk to them ever again. I'm doing well, really well actually. I'm staying in my house now, and I've been fixing it up the way I always wanted to. I'm building a new life now, and it's a good one. It took almost a year of hell to get here, but I made it.
Money can't buy respect, my sister sneered. I sold the house. You have 30 days to move out, I texted her. 2 days later, they showed up at my place. I never thought my own family would be the ones to take advantage of me. But here I am, standing in an empty house that cost me my savings, my relationships, and nearly my sanity. 3 months ago, I owned a house. Not my house, my sister's house. The one I paid for, the one I was never welcome in. It was a modest 3-bedroom in a decent neighborhood. Hardwood floors, granite countertops, a small backyard where kids could play someday, not extravagant but comfortable. Exactly what Olivia and her husband Derek said they needed to start building their future. $93,000. That's what it cost me. Not the full price of the house, but the down payment and closing costs. Money I'd saved for my own future. Money that disappeared with a single bank transfer after weeks of psychological warfare from my own parents. Family takes care of family, Dad's favorite saying. He'd repeat it like a mantra whenever I expressed doubt. Your sister needs this, Marcus. Mom's eyes would well up with tears. Don't you want to see your future nieces and nephews grow up in a stable home? The guilt trips were relentless. Daily calls, family dinners that devolved into interventions, reminders of how Olivia had always been there for me. She hadn't. I broke after 6 weeks, transferred the money, signed the papers. They didn't even say thank you. The day Olivia and Derek moved in, I brought over a housewarming gift. A bottle of champagne and a small potted plant. Nothing fancy, just a gesture. Olivia took the gifts with a dismissive thanks while Derek barely acknowledged me. They were too busy directing the movers where to place their furniture. I stood awkwardly in what was technically my house for 20 uncomfortable minutes before realizing they weren't going to offer me anything. Not a drink, not a tour, nothing. I guess I'll let you guys get settled, I finally said. Olivia glanced up from her phone. Yeah, we have a lot to do. She didn't even walk me to the door. I tried to squash the resentment bubbling in my chest as I drove home. They're stressed from the move, I told myself. They'll be more appreciative when they're settled. 3 days later, my cousin Taylor sent me a text. Great party at Olivia's new place last night. House is amazing. My stomach dropped. I pulled up Instagram and there they were. Dozens of photos, my parents, my cousins, family, friends, all crowded into the living room I had paid for, raising glasses in celebration. Streamers hung from the ceiling. A banner read, Home Sweet Home. I hadn't been invited. My hands shook as I scrolled through image after image. There was Dad giving a toast, Mom hugging Olivia in the kitchen, Derek grilling in the backyard, everyone smiling, everyone having a great time in the house that had cost me my life savings. Everyone except me. I called Olivia immediately. Oh, hey, she answered, sounding annoyed at the interruption. What's up? You had a housewarming party? My voice came out higher than I intended. Just a small get-together. The dismissal in her tone was unmistakable. Looks like the whole family was there. A pause. It was last minute. We didn't think you'd be interested. The lie stung worse than if she had admitted the truth, that I simply hadn't been wanted. I paid for that house, Olivia. Her laugh was cold. And there it is. I knew you'd throw that in my face eventually. Throw it in your face. I'm not asking for praise, but some basic acknowledgement would be nice. Maybe an invitation to the party celebrating the house I made possible. God, you're pathetic. Her voice turned venomous. Is that why you helped us? So you could hold it over our heads, so we'd have to kiss your ass forever? My chest tightened. That's not. News flash, Marcus. Money can't buy respect, or a place in our lives. If Mom and Dad guilt-tripped you into helping us, that's between you and them. We didn't ask for your charity. Except they had. They absolutely had. I hung up without another word. The betrayal settled in my stomach like a lead weight. I'd been used, manipulated, taken advantage of by the people who were supposed to love me most. That night, I pulled out the deed to the house, the paperwork we'd all signed, the documents that confirmed what I already knew. My name was still on everything. I'd put down the money, but I was legally part owner until Olivia and Derek refinanced me out. They'd never gotten around to that part. By morning, I'd made my decision. I called a real estate agent and explained the situation. Yes, I could sell the house. Yes, even without the other owner's permission, though it would be complicated. The property laws were on my side. I texted Olivia, I'm selling the house. You have 30 days to move out. The explosion was nuclear. Within hours, my phone was flooded with messages. Olivia called me every name in the book. Derek threatened legal action. My parents switched between begging and commanding me to change my mind. You can't do this to your sister. This is cruel, Marcus. We raised you better than this. I blocked them all. 2 days later, they showed up at my apartment. Mom was crying. Dad was red-faced with anger. Olivia stood silently, arms crossed. You need to stop this nonsense, Dad said as soon as I opened the door. I let them in but remained standing. No offers of drinks or seats. They could feel what I had felt in my house. It's not nonsense. The house is in my name and I'm selling it. We're family, Mom's voice cracked. How can you do this to your own sister? Ask her. I looked directly at Olivia. Ask her how she treated the brother who gave up his savings for her. Ask her why she excluded me from her life the moment she got what she wanted. It was just a stupid party, Olivia muttered, but she couldn't meet my eyes. It's not about the party, it's about realizing I was never anything but an ATM to you. That's not fair, Dad started. None of this has been fair. My voice rose despite my efforts to stay calm. You all pressured me for weeks, made me feel like garbage for even hesitating. Then once I gave in, once I handed over nearly $100,000, I was tossed aside. Forgotten. We said thank you, Mom insisted weakly. No, you didn't. The silence that followed confirmed what I already knew. They couldn't even remember thanking me because they never had. The house goes on the market next week. I moved toward the door. You all should leave now. If you do this, Dad's voice was low and dangerous, you're no longer part of this family. I laughed. The sound was hollow even to my own ears. I haven't been part of this family since I signed those papers. The only difference now is that I know it. After they left, I sat alone in my apartment. The weight that had been pressing on my chest for months finally began to lift. I'd lost my family, but they had shown me who they truly were. Maybe that knowledge was worth the price. The next few weeks were a blur of paperwork and legal consultations. Olivia and Derek tried everything to stop the sale, tears, threats, half-hearted apologies. When those didn't work, they trashed the house before moving out, leaving holes in the walls and stains on the carpets. My parents followed through on their threat. I was officially disowned. Cut out of family events, blocked on social media, erased from their lives. Relatives who had happily celebrated in the house I paid for now treated me like an outcast. Only Cousin Taylor reached out, sending a brief text. I get why you did it. I'm sorry it came to this. One small voice of understanding in a storm of condemnation. In the end, the property damage and rushed sale meant I took a significant loss. I recouped about $70,000 of my $93,000 investment. The difference, $23,000, was effectively the price I paid to see my family's true colors. An expensive lesson, but one I'll never forget. It's been 3 months now. I'm slowly rebuilding my savings, starting over in many ways. Some nights I still wake up wondering if I made the right choice, if there was another path I could have taken. But then I remember Olivia's cold laugh. Money can't buy respect, she'd said. She was right about that, at least. I've learned that some people will take and take until there's nothing left to give. That the word family is sometimes used as a weapon, a guilt-inducing tool to extract compliance. That unconditional love often comes with very specific conditions. Most importantly, I've learned that self-respect costs more than money, but it's the only thing truly worth paying for. To anyone faced with the same impossible choice between financial security and emotional freedom, I can only offer this. The money will return, eventually. But the time and energy spent trying to earn the love of people who see you as nothing but a resource, that's gone forever. I don't regret losing the money. I regret how long it took me to realize what it was actually buying, and it wasn't a house. Summer was fatting when I first noticed the signs of trouble with my sister. Olivia had always been our parents' favorite, the perfect daughter who never strayed from the path they set. College, marriage, career, all according to plan. Unlike me, the disappointing son who'd chosen a vocational route instead of the family-approved university trajectory. But even golden children sometimes tarnish, and Olivia's shine had definitely dimmed. I noticed it at Dad's birthday dinner. The way she and Derek avoided questions about their 5-year plan. The tense glances they exchanged when Mom mentioned grandchildren. The forced smile when Dad brought up their apartment lease. We're actually thinking of looking for a house, Olivia mentioned casually over dessert. Dad perked up. That's wonderful. Where are you looking? We've got our eye on Cooper's Glen. Derek named a modest but respectable neighborhood. Mom clapped her hands together. Perfect for starting a family. I noticed my sister's knuckles whitening around her fork. Derek's jaw tightening almost imperceptibly. The conversation moved on, but something felt off. I didn't realize I was witnessing the opening move in an elaborate game, one where I would ultimately become the pawn. 2 weeks later, Mom called me. Her voice had that particular tone she used when she wanted something. "Have you talked to your sister lately?" I hadn't. Olivia and I weren't close. Never had been. The 4-year age gap and our parents' obvious favoritism had created a distance neither of us had ever tried to bridge. "Is everything okay?" I asked automatically. Mom sighed dramatically. "They're struggling, Marcus, the house they want. They can't quite afford the down payment." My guard immediately went up. "That's unfortunate." "Your father and I were thinking." She paused, as if carefully selecting her words. "You've been doing so well with your business, and you don't have the expenses they do." And there it was, the real purpose of the call. "You want me to give them money for a house?" "Not give," Mom corrected quickly. "Invest. You'd be on the deed too, of course. It's a solid investment opportunity, really." I almost laughed. Even my mother couldn't say it with enough conviction to sound believable. "I need to think about it," I said finally, knowing that outright refusal would only trigger a longer, more uncomfortable conversation. "Of course, sweetheart, but don't think too long. They might lose the house if they don't move quickly." The seed had been planted. In the days that followed, it was carefully tended. Dad called next. His approach was more direct. "Marcus, I've raised you to understand the importance of family. Your sister and Derek need your help." "They're both employed, Dad. Why can't they save for their own down payment?" His voice hardened. "Because not everyone has been as fortunate as you." Fortune had nothing to do with it. I'd worked 80-hour weeks for years to build my small contracting business. Lived in a studio apartment to keep expenses low. Avoided vacations, new cars, even dating, all to ensure financial stability. Olivia and Derek, meanwhile, took lavish trips, drove new vehicles, and lived in an apartment that cost twice what mine did. Their financial troubles weren't due to misfortune. They were due to choices. But pointing this out would only escalate the tension. "I'll think about it," I repeated. The pressure campaign intensified. Sunday dinners became interrogations about my decision. Family text chains turned into forums for subtle guilt trips. Mom left tearful voicemails about Olivia's devastation at potentially losing her dream home. No one seemed concerned about my dreams, about the fact that the money they wanted me to invest was meant for my own future home, for the security I'd worked so hard to build. 6 weeks of this psychological siege wore me down. Each day, my resistance weakened. Each call chipped away at my resolve. The final blow came when Mom showed up at my apartment unannounced, eyes red from crying. "Olivia and Derek might separate if they don't get this fresh start," she said, voice trembling. "Is that what you want, to see your sister's marriage fall apart when you could have prevented it?" I knew it was manipulation, knew I was being played. I transferred the money anyway. The relief I expected to feel never came. Instead, a hollow sensation settled in my chest as I watched the funds leave my account. $93,000, nearly everything I had. The signing of papers was anticlimactic. A brief meeting at a title company, signatures scrawled on documents, polite smiles exchanged with the real estate agent. Olivia's thanks was perfunctory at best. Derek nodded curtly when I handed over the keys. No celebration. No genuine gratitude, nothing to mark the enormous sacrifice I just made. "We should have you over once we're settled," Olivia said as we walked to the parking lot. The half-hearted invitation hung in the air between us. "I'd like that," I replied, knowing even then that it would never happen. I drove away with an unfamiliar emptiness inside me. The rational part of my brain screamed that I'd made a terrible mistake. The emotional part still hoped that maybe, just maybe, this act would bridge the chasm between my sister and me, that it might finally earn me the place in my family I'd always craved. It didn't. The exclusion from the housewarming party wasn't a surprise, not really. It was merely confirmation of what I'd already suspected deep down. My usefulness had ended the moment the money left my account. The most painful realizations are often the ones we've known all along, but refused to acknowledge. When I called the real estate agent to initiate the sale, I felt nothing but calm determination. The chaos that followed the angry calls, the family showdown in my apartment, the threats of disownment, washed over me like waves against a rock. I had finally found my immovable center. "You won't really go through with this," Derek sneered during their final week in the house. He was supervising the movers, making sure they handled his precious electronics with care. "You don't have the spine." I leaned against the doorframe, watching dispassionately as my former house was systematically emptied. "The realtor's bringing a potential buyer tomorrow at 10. His face flushed with anger. "You're enjoying this, aren't you? Making us suffer." "I'm not enjoying any of this, Derek." "Then why do it? Why force us out of our home?" "It was never your home." My voice remained steady. "It was a transaction, one that's now being reversed." He shook his head in disgust. "You're more cold-hearted than I thought." "No," I corrected him. "I'm just finally seeing clearly." Later that night, after they'd gone, I walked through the empty house alone. The walls bore marks where pictures had hung. The floors showed indentations from furniture. Small damages left intentionally, scratches on countertops, a broken bathroom tile, stains ground into carpets. Their parting message to me. I ran my hand along the kitchen island where, in another reality, I might have been welcomed as a brother. As family. My fingers traced the edge of a deep gouge in the granite, Derek's handiwork, no doubt. The damage didn't bother me as much as it should have. Physical things can be repaired. Relationships once severed by betrayal are much harder to fix. My new apartment is smaller than my old one. Less expensive, practical. It will take time to rebuild my savings, but I've done it before. I know how to start over. The silence from my family is complete. No calls on my birthday. No invitations to holidays. My name has become unmentionable in their house, according to Cousin Taylor, who still checks in occasionally. I expected to feel more pain about this excommunication. Instead, there's a strange sense of peace. The constant need to earn their approval, to prove my worth, it's gone. The space it left behind feels lighter than I ever imagined possible. Last week I passed Olivia in the grocery store. Our eyes met briefly across the produce section. For a moment, something flickered across her face, regret perhaps, or maybe just surprise. I nodded politely and continued selecting my apples. She turned away first. Some people might view my story as a tragedy, a family torn apart over money. But that's not quite right. The money didn't divide us. It merely revealed the divisions that were already there, hidden beneath the surface of obligatory Sunday dinners and perfunctory birthday calls. I lost $93,000, but I gained something far more valuable, the truth, and myself. Sometimes that's enough. If I could go back and give advice to my younger self, the one standing in that title company, pen hovering over documents, doubt gnawing at his insides, I'd say this. True family doesn't need to be bought. Love that comes with conditions isn't love at all. And sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is to walk away from people who only value what you can give them, not who you are. The hardest lesson I've learned is that blood doesn't guarantee loyalty, and sacrifice doesn't ensure gratitude. Real family, whether related by blood or formed through genuine connection, respects your boundaries, acknowledges your worth, and never makes their love contingent on what you can provide. I lost money I can earn back, but I gained wisdom that's priceless, and that has made all the difference.
"I'm pregnant," my girlfriend said. Then my best friend whispered, "It's mine, man. I'm so sorry." I didn't respond, just stared at them standing in my kitchen. Neither of them noticed what I had already known. So this happened 2 days ago, and I'm still processing it. I'm writing this from my parents' house at 3 a.m. because I can't sleep, and everyone here keeps telling me I need to talk to someone about this. Reddit seems like the safest place to get this out. I've been with Nancy for 2 years. We moved in together about 18 months ago into this apartment that I bought, well, mortgage, but it's in my name only. My best friend Andrew has been crashing with us for the past 2 months after his divorce got messy. I thought I was being a good friend helping him get back on his feet. Andrew and I have been tight since college. 7 years of friendship. The guy was supposed to be my best man whenever Nancy and I got engaged. Nancy seemed cool with him staying with us, even encouraged it when I was hesitant about the arrangement. She said it would be fun having him around, and that I was too worried about privacy. 2 days ago, I came home from work early because I wasn't feeling well. Found them sitting at our kitchen table looking like someone died. Nancy's eyes were all red and puffy. Andrew couldn't look at me. My stomach immediately dropped because you know that feeling when you walk into a room and everyone stops talking. Nancy starts with, "Peter, we need to tell you something." I'm thinking maybe Andrew lost his job or someone's sick. Then she hits me with, "I'm pregnant." I'm standing there like an idiot going, "That's amazing, babe. Why do you both look so?" And then Andrew finally looks up and says, "It's mine, man. I'm so fucking sorry." The next few minutes are a blur. Nancy's crying, saying how sorry she is, how it just happened, how they never meant for this to happen. Andrew's apologizing over and over, saying he knows he fucked up, that he'll do whatever it takes to make this right. I think I asked how long, like 3 times before either of them answered. Finally, Andrew says, "About a month, man. We never planned this, it just, fuck, I'm so sorry." Nancy's nodding through her tears, saying it was just a few times, Peter. We both felt horrible about it. We tried to stop, but then I found out about the baby and we knew we had to tell you. I couldn't breathe, like literally felt like I was having a heart attack. These are the 2 people I trusted most in the world, and they're sitting in my kitchen telling me they've been fucking behind my back and now she's having his baby. I don't even remember what I said after that. I think I just grabbed my keys and some clothes and left. Drove straight to my parents' house 3 hours away. My mom took one look at me and knew something was catastrophically wrong. The thing that's killing me is how long this must have been going on. Nancy's been acting different for weeks. More tired, weird about food, spending more time studying. She's in nursing school. I thought she was just stressed about finals. And Andrew, fuck, Andrew's been weird too. Less hanging out, just the 2 of us, always checking his phone, being overly nice to me like he felt guilty about something. I feel like such an idiot. My girlfriend and my best friend, in my own home, while I was working overtime to pay the mortgage and support all 3 of us. Nancy's been texting nonstop since I left, mostly, "Please come home so we can talk, and this isn't how we wanted you to find out." Andrew sent a few too, saying he wants to explain everything and that he never meant to hurt me. I don't know what there is to explain. They fucked, she got pregnant, end of story. The worst part? I actually wanted kids with Nancy. We talked about it. I told her I wanted to wait until we were more financially stable. I grew up poor and I know how hard that is on a family. I wanted to make sure we could give our kids everything I never had. She said she understood. She agreed we should wait. Guess she decided I could wait on my own. I don't know what to do here. The apartment is mine. I pay all the bills, but they're both living there. Can I just kick them out? Do I have to give them time? Nancy's pregnant, so I can't exactly throw a pregnant woman on the street, even though she destroyed my life. My parents are being incredibly supportive, but they're also just really good people with old school values. They keep gently suggesting I should be the bigger person and think about what's best for everyone involved, especially since there's a baby coming. It's not like they're pressuring me or anything. They're 100% on my side and furious about what Nancy and Andrew did. They just can't bring themselves to be unkind to an unborn child. But honestly, I don't give a fuck what's best for them right now. They didn't think about what was best for me when they were screwing in my bed. Am I wrong for wanting them both gone? Should I try to work this out somehow? I can't imagine looking at either of them right now without wanting to put my fist through a wall. This sucks so fucking much. Edit. Holy shit, this blew up. Thank you all for the support, seriously. Reading these comments is the first time I've felt sane in 48 hours. A lot of people asking about the legal stuff. Yes, I own the apartment. They're not on any lease or deed. Andrew was just crashing temporarily and Nancy moved in with me. Some of you saying I need to check local tenant laws. We'll look into that. Update 1. Posted 2 weeks ago. You guys fucking called it. Every single person who said something doesn't add up and this timeline seems off was absolutely right. First, thank you all for the support on my last post. Reading your comments gave me the push I needed to stop wallowing and start thinking clearly. A lot of you said I needed to go back and get my important documents and stuff, so that's what I did. I went back to get some stuff and found something that changes everything. I waited until I knew they'd both be gone. Nancy had nursing clinicals and Andrew had a job interview. Figured I could grab my birth certificate, passport, some clothes, and get out without having to see either of them. Walking into my own apartment felt like entering a crime scene. Everything looked the same but felt completely different, you know. I'm gathering my stuff from the bedroom when I see Nancy's purse sitting on the dresser, unzipped. Normally I wouldn't snoop, but something made me look. Probably just my pettiness finally getting to my head. Found her prenatal vitamins. The bottle had a date on it from 3 months ago. I just stood there staring at this bottle. 3 months. Nancy and Andrew have only been fucking around for about a month. The math doesn't work. So I did what any rational person would do and tore through the apartment looking for more evidence. Found her first ultrasound appointment confirmation in her email. Yes, I knew her password. We shared everything, or so I thought. Appointment was scheduled 4 weeks ago. The paperwork I found estimated she was about 8 weeks along at that appointment. That makes her roughly 12 weeks pregnant now. About 3 months. Andrew's been living here for only 2 months, which means Nancy had got pregnant even before he moved in. But they're telling me their affair only started a month ago, which means either Nancy was already pregnant when Andrew moved in and has been lying to both of us, or Nancy and Andrew were fucking even before he moved in, like back when he was still married. I'm betting on option 1 because I found something else. Hidden in the back of her jewelry box was a positive pregnancy test dated 3 months ago with a note that said, "How do I tell him?" She'd been hiding this pregnancy for months, probably trying to figure out how to handle it. Then Andrew moved in 2 months ago, and suddenly she had a solution. Pin it on the guy who's already going through a divorce and won't ask too many questions about timing. Nancy's smart enough to know she could never convince me the baby was mine. I've always been religious about birth control. I was paranoid about accidental pregnancy because we weren't financially ready. She knew I'd never buy it. But Andrew, guy's going through an emotional divorce, feeling vulnerable, grateful for a place to stay, perfect target for manipulation. Andrew's being played just as hard as I was, maybe harder. I sat in my kitchen for 2 hours processing this. Nancy didn't just cheat on me. She orchestrated this entire situation. She was already pregnant when Andrew moved in, probably started seducing him specifically to have a fall guy for her pregnancy. And Andrew, the poor bastard, thinks he knocked up his best friend's girlfriend and is trying to do the right thing. The level of manipulation here is insane. She played us both. When I got home, I called my dad's lawyer friend, explained the situation. He said since I own the apartment and they're not on any lease, I can give them 30 days written notice to vacate. After that, if they don't leave, I can start eviction proceedings. I've drafted the notice. Both of them need to be out in 30 days, but I'm debating whether to tell Andrew what I found first. Part of me thinks he deserves to know he's being manipulated too. But another part of me is like, fuck him. He still betrayed our friendship even if he was being played. I mean, what kind of friend sleeps with his best friend's girlfriend and still has the audacity to look him in the eye, knowing that friend had taken him in at his lowest? Nancy's still texting constantly. Yesterday, she sent a long message about how we can work through this as a family and how the baby needs stability. Today, she switched tactics to saying I'm abandoning her when she needs me most and that she made a mistake but still loves me. No mention of the months of lying, of course. I feel like I'm seeing her clearly for the first time in 2 years. How many other things has she manipulated? How many times has she played victim when she was actually pulling the strings? Andrew texted asking if we can meet up and talk man to man. He wants to take responsibility and figure out next steps. I almost feel bad for him, almost. Going back tomorrow to serve them both with the 30-day notice. My dad's coming with me for moral support and to witness it's delivered properly. This is so much messier than just cheating. This is next-level deception. Edit. A lot of you asking if I'm going to tell Andrew the truth. Still undecided. He fucked me over, but he's also being manipulated. Some people saying I should DNA test the baby when it's born. Honestly, don't care whose it is at this point. Not my problem anymore. Update 2. Posted 1 week ago. The last week has been absolutely insane. You guys were right that Nancy wouldn't go quietly, but holy shit, none of us were prepared for the level of crazy she brought. My dad and I went to the apartment last Monday to serve the 30-day notice. We waited until evening when we knew they'd both be home. Nancy answered the door, saw my dad, and immediately started crying before I even said anything. Classic manipulation tactic. Make the other person feel like the aggressor. I handed her the notice and told them both they have 30 days to find somewhere else to live. Read it out loud so there was no confusion. It was professional, clean, just stated the facts about terminating their residency. Andrew looked like someone punched him in the gut, just kept saying, "Peter, man, please, let's talk about this." Nancy immediately went into victim mode. "You can't kick out a pregnant woman. This is my home too. What kind of person throws out their pregnant girlfriend?" I stayed calm. Told them the apartment is solely in my name, they're not on any lease, and I'm giving them the legally required notice. My dad backed me up, very matter of fact about the legal side. That's when Nancy lost her shit. Started screaming about how I'm heartless and cruel and how she should have known I'd abandon her. Then she pulls out the big guns. "I knew you didn't really want to have a baby with me anyway. You always made me feel like I wasn't good enough for you. That's why I turned to Andrew, at least he actually wants to be a father." Andrew looked confused as hell. "Nancy, what are you talking about?" Started spinning this story about how I'd been emotionally distant and made it clear kids weren't in my future, how she felt so alone and unwanted that she sought comfort elsewhere. Because apparently she knew I didn't want to start a real family with her, and she was only a plaything to me. Standing there, listening to her say those things, it hurt like hell. She knew exactly why I didn't want to have kids yet. She knew exactly how growing up poor had left a mark on me. And still, she twisted it all to justify what she did. I almost told Andrew about the prenatal vitamins right then. Almost. But my dad put his hand on my arm and shook his head. Smart man. So instead I just said, "Nancy, stop. This is about you and Andrew telling me you're having his baby. Nothing else matters now. You have 30 days. After we left, the real circus started. Nancy called her sister, who called me screaming about how I'm throwing a pregnant woman onto the streets. Then Nancy's mom called, then her dad. Each conversation was the same. I'm horrible, heartless, unreasonable. Nancy's apparently told them all that she made one mistake, but I'm being vindictive and punishing her for being human. No mention to any of them about the months of lying, of course. Andrew's been texting constantly, begging me to reconsider, saying he'll move out, but can I please let Nancy stay until after the baby's born, offering to pay extra rent, promising they'll stay out of my way. Then Nancy switched tactics again, started sending these long, emotional texts about our 2 years together and how she knows I still love her and we can get through this together, saying the baby could still be ours if I open my heart to forgiveness. The manipulation is honestly impressive. She's working every angle. Guilt, pity, love, family pressure, even trying to make me the bad guy for enforcing my legal rights to my own property. But the kicker came 3 days ago. My own mom called me. Apparently Nancy contacted her. My mother told her she's pregnant and homeless and that I'm being unreasonable about the living situation. Asked if my mom could talk sense into me about family obligations. My mom, bless her, listened politely and told Nancy she understood this was an upsetting situation, but that she couldn't pressure me into making decisions I wasn't comfortable with. See, I hadn't told my parents the full extent of Nancy's manipulation yet, just the basic cheating and pregnancy stuff. I didn't want them worrying about how deep the lies went. But then Nancy made a huge mistake. She told my mom that I'm damaged from growing up poor and have commitment issues that made her feel unloved and insecure. Really went for the jugular, bringing up my childhood like that. That's when my mom went into protective mama bear mode. She called me asking what the hell Nancy meant by those comments. When I explained the real situation, my mom was furious. She called Nancy back and apparently tore her a new one about manipulating people and using pregnancy as a weapon. Yesterday, I finally texted Andrew and asked him to meet me for coffee. Neutral location, public place. I didn't tell him about the timeline yet, but I asked him point blank when things started between them. He swore it was only 6 weeks ago. Said Nancy came to him crying one night when I was working late, telling him she felt disconnected from me and didn't know what to do. One thing led to another. He insisted it only happened a few times and they both felt terrible about it. I asked when she told him about the pregnancy. He said 2 weeks ago, right before they told me. Said she was terrified and didn't know how to handle it. Andrew's a lot of things, but he's not a good liar. He genuinely believes Nancy got pregnant from their brief affair. He has no idea he's been manipulated into thinking he's the father of a baby that was conceived months before they ever touched each other. I left without telling him the truth. I'm still not sure if I will. 18 days left on the notice. Nancy's family is trying to coordinate some kind of intervention where they all come here to help us work this out. Andrew's looking at apartments but says they're all too expensive for someone with a baby coming. Meanwhile, I'm staying at my parents' house, paying a mortgage on an apartment I can't live in, watching 2 people tear apart my life while playing victim. The hardest part. Sometimes I catch myself missing what I thought we had. Then I remember none of it was real. Final update. Posted 3 days ago, it's over. They're both out of my apartment and out of my life. But holy shit, did Nancy go out with a bang. So last week I mentioned Nancy's family wanted to stage some kind of intervention. Well, they showed up. Nancy's parents, her sister, and her brother all came to mediate the situation. They rang my doorbell Saturday morning like they were planning an ambush. I wasn't even there, still staying at my parents'. But Andrew was, and he called me panicking. Dude, Nancy's whole family is here and they want to talk to you. I drove over immediately. Walked into MY apartment to find Nancy's dad sitting in MY kitchen telling Andrew how family handles things differently and how a real man takes care of his responsibilities. That's when I'd had enough. I pulled out my phone and showed Andrew the photos I'd taken of the prenatal vitamins, the ultrasound paperwork, and the old pregnancy test. Showed him the dates, explained the timeline. Andrew just stared at the evidence. You could see his brain trying to process it. Nancy's face went white as a sheet. Nancy, I said loud enough for her whole family to hear, want to explain to everyone why you've been taking prenatal vitamins since before Andrew even moved in. The room went dead silent. Nancy immediately tried to deflect. Those are old, from when I thought I might be pregnant before. But Andrew was doing the math now, and even Nancy's family looked confused. Her dad asked, Nancy, how far along are you exactly? That's when she broke down completely. Started sobbing, admitting that yes, she'd been pregnant for months. Yes, she'd hidden it. Yes, she'd lied to everyone. But then she went for one final manipulation attempt that was so insane I'm still processing it. She claimed the baby was mine. Said she'd lied about it being Andrew's because she knew I'd reject her since I'd made it clear I didn't want kids right now. Said she panicked and tried to protect the baby by finding someone who would step up and be a father. Andrew looked between us like he'd been hit by a truck. So, you let me think I ruined my best friend's relationship for a baby that isn't even mine. Nancy kept crying, saying she was scared and didn't know what else to do and how she just wanted someone to love her and the baby. Her family was mortified. Her mom started yelling at her about lying to everyone. Her dad was apologizing to me and Andrew. Her sister just looked disgusted. But here's the thing, I know Nancy's lying about this too. We were religious about birth control. I'm talking condoms every time, plus she was on the pill. The timing doesn't work for it to be mine either. Plus, I'd noticed her acting weird for months before Andrew moved in. The pregnancy explains why she was dealing with morning sickness and mood swings and trying to hide it. I looked at this crying, manipulative woman in my kitchen and felt nothing. No anger, no hurt, just pure exhaustion. Nancy, I said, I don't care whose baby it is. You lied to everyone for months. You manipulated Andrew into thinking he destroyed our friendship. You've been playing games with people's lives. I want you out of my apartment and out of my life." Her family agreed. They packed her up that day and took her back to their place. Her dad shook my hand and apologized for the whole situation, said they had no idea how deep her lies went. Andrew stayed to pack his stuff too. We had a long talk that night. He's devastated, not just about losing our friendship, but about being manipulated so completely. He genuinely thought he'd fallen for Nancy and ruined everything. Finding out she'd been playing him from the beginning destroyed his ability to trust his own judgment. I told him I understood that Nancy had manipulated him, but that didn't erase what he'd done. He still chose to sleep with his best friend's girlfriend, regardless of her sob stories. I said I might be able to forgive him someday, but I also told him we can't go back to how things were. Too much has happened. He understood. He moved out Sunday. I changed the locks Monday. Yesterday, I got a text from Nancy asking if we could talk privately about our situation. I blocked her number. I'm back in my apartment now. It's weird being here alone after everything, but it's also peaceful. No more walking on eggshells. No more feeling like something's off but not knowing what. The crazy thing, I keep finding evidence of Nancy's manipulation throughout our entire relationship. Hidden credit card bills, lies about where she was going, even texts I found between her and her friends talking about how to handle me when I was stressed about money. I feel like I'm waking up from a 2-year nightmare where I thought I was in love, but was actually just being systematically controlled. To everyone who supported me through this, thank you. The people saying I should get therapy were right. I start counseling next week. I need to figure out how I missed so many red flags and make sure I never get manipulated like this again. To anyone dealing with something similar, trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. Don't let people make you feel crazy for noticing things that don't add up. Nancy's having someone else's baby and it's not my problem anymore. Andrew learned a hard lesson about manipulation and rebounds. And me, I'm free. It feels good to be free. Edit. For people who have been asking, no, I'm not interested in dating right now. I need time to heal and figure out how to spot red flags better. The apartment feels huge without 2 extra people in it. Thinking about getting a dog. Thanks for everything, Reddit. This community saved my sanity.